everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about a bunch of January new releases. I used to do these videos every month a couple of years ago, and then I stopped doing them because they were quite exhausting. But I found that I really miss doing them. I really enjoy sharing new releases for the upcoming month, so I can tell you what I'm most looking forward to, which books I'm most anticipating, and I can also give you guys some ideas as well. So my aim is to do 12 of these, one for each month of the year, and I'm hoping to get them out towards the beginning of each month. It's a bit late in January for this video because I had so much other end of year content to get out, but going forwards I'm hoping to release this video in the first week of the month so that you guys have some time to prep and decide what to spend your money on or which books to reserve from the library. I have 22 books that are coming out in January to share with you today. This isn't an exhaustive list. There are obviously hundreds and hundreds of books coming out each month and I couldn't possibly capture them all, but these are the ones that sound either the most interesting to me or they're ones that I think could be the most interesting for you. They're not in any particular order. This is just the order that I wrote them down in. I will try to remember to say the release date. If not, I will put it on the screen while I'm editing because it's probably useful if you know which date they are coming out. There is one on here that I can think of that is releasing in the UK in January, but it came out in the US in December, so I'm kind of giving it another shout out here. Starting off, we have The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. This is her third adult thriller book. It came out on the 3rd of January, which is tomorrow as I'm recording this, but last week as you are watching it. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know loads about this one because I don't read the synopses for thrillers, but I did quite like The Wife Upstairs, which was her first adult thriller book. The tagline says that it's a gothic suspense set in an Italian villa for fans of Lucy Foley and Ruth Ware, which I am. Something, girls trip to Italy, reconnecting with the best friend. She begins to think there might be something more to the story of that fateful summer in 1974. I think it sounds like a fun thriller and I love that it's set in Italy. Next we have another thriller which is coming out on the 10th of January, and this is All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. So this is her second adult thriller book. I haven't actually read the first yet, but I'm hoping to read it this month so then I can read this one because I did receive it from the publisher in exchange for an honest review and I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm hoping to this weekend. It says here, 1 year ago, Isabel's life changed forever when her toddler son was taken out of his crib in the middle of the night while she and her husband were asleep in the next room. I am really scared of home invasion stories, so I'm thinking this is going to be very, very thrilling, very creepy. The thought of someone sneaking into your house while you're sleeping, taking your child, or just taking anything really creeps me out. So I do think this one sounds quite good. Next we have one that I have already read and I didn't love it, but you might. That is Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. This is her first YA contemporary book. It features two main characters. It's told from dual perspectives and they are ex-best friends turned enemies turned potentially lovers, and they reconnect on a school project. One of the main characters has OCD, which is something that the author has recently been diagnosed with as well, so its own voices rep. I gave it 3 stars. You might like it a lot more than I did, so check it out if you're interested. This one came out on the 3rd of January. Next we have a book that I think sounds amazing and I cannot wait to read it. It's coming out on the 31st of January and that is River Sing Me Home by Eleanor Shearer. I do have an advanced reader's copy of this one. I'm hoping to read it this weekend because it sounds incredible. So the tagline says that it's rare, moving, powerful, this beautiful page-turning redemptive story of a mother's gripping journey across the Caribbean to find her stolen children in the aftermath of slavery is a remarkable debut. Her search begins with an ending. So I think it begins on Barbados. The Emancipation Act is about to come into effect and I think all of the slave owners are starting to panic. Rachel is now hopefully going to be free and she wants to go on a journey to find her children. It says here that she had 5 who survived birth and they were then sold, so I imagine she's travelling around the Caribbean to go and find all of them. And honestly, this cover is amazing. This sounds incredible and it's probably a 5-star prediction. I think it sounds really, really good. Next we have a teen romance book. This is called The Love Match. This one came out on the 3rd of January. I haven't read it yet, but I do want to. So I believe this is a rom-com featuring a Bangladeshi American teenager whose mother is trying to set her up in an arranged marriage, but she is falling in love with someone else. I read a book about a Bangladeshi teen who was forced into a marriage recently, which I'll talk about at the end of the month. I really enjoyed that one and I'm hoping this one is going to be a little bit funnier because that one was quite dark and I need something a bit lighter to not be quite so depressed. Then we have In the Upper Country, which I have started but haven't finished yet. This is another historical fiction story. It's set in Canada. It says here, in the description, so begins an extraordinary exchange of tales that reveal an interwoven history of Black and Indigenous peoples in a wide swath of what is called North America. Travelling along the path of the Underground Railroad from Virginia to Michigan, from the Indigenous nations around the Great Lakes to the Black refugee communities of Canada, in the upper country weaves together unlikely stories of love, survival, family upheaval that map the interconnected history of the peoples of North America in an entirely new and resonant way. I think this sounds heartbreaking, but I think it's going to be really, really good. And from what I read so far, which was only like 3 chapters, it's written really, really well. And I'm really looking forward to picking it back up again. This one comes out on the 10th of January. Next we have Spice Road, which is the first book in a new YA trilogy. This one comes out on the 24th of January in the UK, and then in the US probably the same week, I'm not sure. This is an epic fantasy series based on Arabian mythology, I think. The main character, I don't know if she has powers, but she has to go and find her brother, who has tarnished the family name. I love Arabian inspired books. The magic systems are always top notch for me, and I'm really looking forward to reading this one. I do have a review copy of this one. Again, I've been very lucky with review copies this year. I'm hoping to read it very, very soon. Next we have The Mysterious Case of the Alberton Angels, which is Janice Hallett's next book. This is coming out in the UK on the 19th of January. I'm not sure when it's coming out in the US because I think there's about a year's delay between her books, and as far as I'm aware, her second book only came out recently. This author tells all of her books in a kind of unique and distinct format. First one was told entirely in emails and a few text messages. The second one was told kind of in voice notes or voice recordings. And this one, I'm not sure how it's going to be. Oh my god, my bag just moved. I'm not sure how this one is going to be told, but it's about a true crime author who's writing a book about the Alberton Angels. I think this one sounds really, really good. I have a review copy of this one. Cannot wait to read it. I'm going to start it as soon as I stop recording this video. The Things We Do to Our Friends, which is coming out on the 10th of January. This is some kind of mystery thriller, so I haven't read the entire synopsis, but I think it's set in Edinburgh, perhaps centered around the university. And I assume it's about students and best friends and how they all betray each other and maybe like get each other killed. I'm not sure, but I love the sound of it, and I do again have an advanced reader's copy of this one, so I'm going to be reading it soon, probably in a reading vlog. What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall, whose books I really, really enjoy. This is her debut adult book. It's a thriller. This is coming out on the 17th of January. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I don't have a review copy of this one, but I wish I did because I think she's a fantastic author. So it says here the main character used to believe in magic. 22 years ago, she and her 2 best friends spent the summer roaming the woods, imagining a world of ceremony and wonder. They called it the Goddess Game. That summer ended suddenly when the main character was attacked. She survived her 17 stab wounds and lived to identify the man who hurt her. The girls' testimony put away a serial killer, and they were heroes and they were liars. I think that sounds brilliant. Kate Alice Marshall's books tend to have a bit of magical realism in them. I don't know if that's going to be the case in this one. I kind of hope not, because I do want it to just be a suspenseful thriller, and I don't like it when thriller books switch genre on me. I really like her books, so I'm going to pick it up regardless of my, fears. Then we have A Million to One, which is already out. This is the one that came out in December in the US, and it came out a week ago in the UK, so I wanted to mention it. This is by the author of The Henna Wars and Honey and Issue's Guide to Fake Dating. I've read The Henna Wars, really enjoyed it. It's a contemporary book, and this is more of a historical. I don't know loads about it. I just know that it's pitched as Ocean's 8 set on the Titanic, and that's all I need to know. I'm all for a good heist story. I love Titanic settings, which is something I've discovered in the last year or so when I did a Titanic themed reading vlog. And if it's about a bunch of female friends who come together to steal something, I love that, so cannot wait to read that one. Again, I have an advanced reader's copy, so I'm going to get to it ASAP. Then we have an adult fantasy, which is The Daughters of Istahar. This one comes out on the 10th of January, which is a very popular date. Again, have a review copy of this one. I need to say this for transparency, so I'm not kind of concealing that I'm promoting these books for the publishers, which isn't my goal. Obviously I'm anticipating them, which is why I requested them as advanced readers copies. Anyway, this is a debut fantasy book. It's Sapphic, I think, and it's a fantasy story inspired by Egyptian mythology. I don't think it's set in Egypt. I think it's set in a whole new world. I think the main characters all have elemental powers, and I love that. I love stories about elemental powers. I cannot wait to read this one. I don't know why I haven't picked it up yet, probably because I've been so busy and sick, but I will be picking that up soon, and you should see it in my January wrap up. Then there's another thriller called Just the Nicest Couple by Mary Kubica, who I think is a very popular author. I've read one book by her before called The Other Misses, which was quite popular, and I didn't really love it, and then I also read Local Women Missing, which I did enjoy a bit more. This is a thriller book, so I don't know loads about it. The tagline says 2 couples, 2 close friends, and 1 missing husband. I am all for that. Let's go and find this missing husband, or not. I'm sure there's a reason he went missing. And this comes out on the 10th of January. Next we have Exiles by Jane Harper, which was already released in Australia, but it's now coming out in the UK and the US on the 31st of January. This is the third book in the Aaron Falk trilogy, which is a mystery series based around a policeman investigator, and he keeps getting caught up in mysteries that are basically none of his business, but it becomes his issue when he goes to these small towns and terrible things happen. He's actually a financial investigator of some sort and not a murder detective, but he keeps turning into one. I quite liked this book. I gave it 3.5 stars. It's not my favourite by Jane Harper. That title goes to The Lost Man, but I'm glad I read it, and it wraps up Aaron Falk's story once and for all. I don't think she's going to be returning to this character. Loathe to Love You, which comes out on the 10th of January. This is a collection of Ali Hazelwood's short stories. I don't know if this is the UK release or if it's kind of international or what, but it's the bind up of all of her novellas, and I know that they're all going to be very, very similar, and all the love interests are going to be the same, but I'm probably going to buy this one and just read one novella when I'm kind of in the mood for a fast-paced romance book where I know exactly what's going to happen, because sometimes you need like a palate cleanser, and that's what I think this is going to be. Then there's a book coming out on the 31st of January called Marmot. It's about a black woman who lives in London, and her mother spends all of her time in Ghana, it feels like, and Maddie, the main character, is tasked with looking after her father who has Parkinson's. Maddie's mother finally comes back for a bit, and Maddie uses this as an opportunity to sort of start living her life. I really like the sound of this one. It's literary contemporary fiction, and I'm looking forward to reading it. I also really like the cover. I don't normally like floral covers, but this one's quite cool. X's and O's comes out on the 10th of January. This is the second book in the Influencer series or trilogy. It's a romance novel based on social media influencers. I haven't read the first book, but I think this one might be quite fun. I quite like reading about famous people or influencers, I guess, although I haven't really read many. I think it could be quite entertaining. The love interest is also a firefighter, which I think is cool. The Bandit Queens came out on the 3rd of January. This one is about a woman called Geeta whose husband disappeared a few years ago, and she didn't kill him, but everyone thinks that she did, so she's a suspect, I think, at least. I'm not sure if the police think that she did it or if it's just sort of the neighbours and friends and stuff who suspect it was her. It says here that other women in the village have started asking for Geeta's help to get rid of their own no-good husbands. I think this sounds quite fun and feminist. I assume it's going to be quite entertaining because the synopsis does sound quite humorous, so I'm looking forward to reading that. Then there's Reef Road, which came out or comes out on the 10th of January. This is another thriller book, so very, very briefly. It's about a lonely writer who's obsessed with the unsolved murder of her mother's best friend and a panicked wife whose husband has disappeared with their children. Oh, it's about two women. These two women collide as the world shutters in the pandemic lockdown of 2020. I don't mind reading about pandemics and about lockdown and stuff, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. I think this is based on a real life story or case or incident, so I'm looking forward to reading it and seeing how the author handles it. I don't think this is like a big publisher, so I don't know how much push it's going to get, but I'm looking forward to giving it a go. The Deluge, which came out on the 10th of January again. This is an apocalyptic story, I think, probably cli-fi, I would imagine. It says here, America is in upheaval, battered by violent weather and extreme politics. What will they sacrifice to salvage humanity's last chance at a future? I don't know why I said it so awkwardly, but that's what it says. I like cli-fi, so I'm looking forward to reading this one at some point, although it's not like top of my list. The Blue Bar came out on the 1st of January. This one is set in Mumbai. It's about an inspector who is looking for a missing dancer, I think, and a serial killer. It's the first in a series, it says, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Again, it's a mystery thriller, so I'm not going to read the whole synopsis. And then finally, if it would load, we have a book called The Reunion, which comes out on the 17th of January. I think that's the only one on this list that does. This one is a romance book. I think it's adult, and it's about two former teen stars who reconnect. And again, I really like books about famous people, reality TV stars, influencers, even though I don't like any of that stuff in real life. So I'm looking forward to giving this one a go when I'm in the mood for a light romance contemporary book. So those are the 20-ish new releases that I'm looking forward to in January. Hopefully I've introduced you to some new ones. I am reading quite a few of these in January because I have quite a few advanced readers copies. So hopefully you'll see a lot of these in my January wrap up. I'm also planning on doing a January new releases reading vlog where I read 3 or 4 new releases in 1 week and live vlog, tell you all about them. If you have any specific requests for that, if you want me to read any of these books in particular, then let me know in the comments below. I'm already quite set on the ones that I do want to read for January, but if there is one that you're particularly looking forward to hearing my opinions on, I can slot it in and either include it in the vlog or do a separate review for it. Just let me know and I'm quite happy to do that. Thank you for watching this video and I'll speak to you all in the next one. Bye!